This is Alan Karpick with Steve Reid, and I always say the same things. Not possible he's 60, but he is today. And joining us, and we were talking offline about the first time we knew each other, or spent much time with each other, which I think was in the fall of 1981. So we have a little bit of history together. Of course, Steve transferred to Purdue from Kansas State. And had a terrific career at Purdue with Gene Keady, a part of a Big Ten championship team, one of the best six men, but also had the year where he started a lot as well for the Boilermakers. All right, you're 60. You've been that way for 12 hours or 10 hours here. Give me some wisdom of what that means to you.
Well, it's, when I hit 50, it was kind of fun. It was good, a 50th birthday party, and I had a lot of friends over. When I hit 60, I'm officially in the old man category. I can move up a tee box if I want to on the golf course. So there's some benefits that come with it. But yeah, it's as you age, you don't really, think about it much day to day. But when you do hit these landmarks, you kind of do, okay, I remember when I thought 60 was old. And so I'm definitely in the old man category now.
Yeah, I had the problem. I go back and I say, I know how I felt when I was 30 years ago, and 30 years, and that didn't take very long. And I'll be hopefully make it to 90. That ain't far away, but it's a good thing. And your golf game, my guess, is still pretty salty. So that I don't want to put any money down if you're getting the front tees. But talk about family traditions, if you had any growing up, or what you and Brenda and the family do typically. How does that work for you guys?
Well, we're fortunate. We're blessed that we have 4 of our 5 kids that live within 20 minutes of us, and 5 of the 7 grandkids that live within 20 minutes. So they'll be coming over this evening, and we'll be grilling out some steaks and some shrimp. And we're fortunate. We got a little pool in the backyard, so I'm sure the grandkids and Papa will be out swimming in the pool this evening. And really just all about trying to get together with family and enjoying the time together. And just real frankly, being thankful for the Lord blessing all of us with an opportunity to share a birthday together.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Tell our folks where you're living now, and it must be warm enough where you are to be able to do it, and maybe a little elevator speech of what you're doing professionally as well.
Yeah, so I moved to Savannah, Georgia, almost 18 years ago.
18 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah. Be 18 years in May. So moved down here and was running a trucking company for 16 years. And then a year ago, I went to work for another company called P&S Transportation, which is the 3rd largest flatbed company in the country. And we started an operation in Savannah and have been doing that with them for about a year. So I'm here in Savannah. Have been here, like I say, for 18 years. And for us, fortunately, we're right around the Hilton area, just a little bit north of Jacksonville. And so our winters and falls are usually pretty nice. And if you've got a heater on your pool, you can swim for a little bit longer than you can up north. So it's going to be 80 some degrees here today. And so we'll enjoy the time.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Now, you also share a birthday with John Wooden, who was born on this day. I think Dave Shellhouse, another great Purdue basketball player, an All-American in the 60s. So October 14th is a big day for Purdue Boilermaker history and great basketball players. But you talk about your career, you at Purdue, and it was an important time. Your redshirt year, your transfer year, which I think was my senior year. You guys, the team wasn't as good. When you became eligible in 82, 83, it was the cardiac kids. I mean, you hit several game-winning shots. This is a team that just hit game winner after game winner and really elevated that program. Talk about that. And then your junior year, picked 9th or whatever it was in the Big Ten, and you win the league. What were all those experiences like for you? And as you look at through the lens of a few years ago, what do you take from all of that?
Yeah, it was really interesting. Sitting out as a redshirt, you had a chance to be participating in the day-to-day practices and the team meetings, and you got a sense of what the culture was like. And one of the things, Coach Keady was big about senior leadership and those kind of things. And it was in a transition. It was only his 2nd year of being at Purdue, so he was still trying to, kind of put his fingerprints upon the program. And that became very apparent as I sat and watched, that leadership was really critical, because that team that I redshirted, man, did they have some talent. I mean, they had some serious talent, but there
2
was
first-round picks.
Yeah, I mean, they were great basketball players, but there just never was that cohesiveness and that willingness to kind of give yourself up for the team. And that became very apparent as I watched. And so I actually was somewhat thankful that I wasn't playing that year, that I wasn't using a year of eligibility. And then, you know, the next year, we had Russell Cross. You know, he was the guy, and Russ was as good as I've played with in terms of skills, basketball IQ. I mean, he was, if you threw the ball inside, if you just got it close, he was going to catch it. And then, so we kind of worked around him and we bought into Coach Keady's philosophy. And that really was the beginning of the Greg Eifert, Ricky Hall, Kirk Clausen, you know, those guys that Coach first recruited that became kind of really set the bar for what leadership looked like. And I was a junior, although I was the same age as those guys because we graduated and I was redshirting as my junior year, then the next year. And we bought into that team concept. I remember we went overseas between my sophomore and junior year, and that was without Russell. And Rowinski had gone from 6'3" to 6'8", you know, during his redshirt year. He redshirted the same year I did. And we went overseas and we played, and we really, that was to me the moment we we're pretty good. We can be good. I mean, Rowe can do a lot of things that Russell couldn't do. He could, you know, there's some things that Russell could do. But we're not really going to miss much of a beat with Rowinski in the middle. And so we came back with a lot of confidence. And again, that was one of those teams that we just didn't have anybody. I think all of us knew our basketball careers probably were going to be over as soon as our last game at Purdue was over. I mean, we recognized that. Outside of maybe Ricky and Rowinski, the rest of us were just trying to get our degrees. But that fit with what Coach Keady wanted to do. So it was a great fit. I always get a kick out. I tell people, you know, we used to, you watch film, and after somebody got scored on, every time we'd score a basket, we weren't a fast breaking team because we'd have to look at each other and, you know, everybody knew, Steve, that was your fault. You didn't give good help defense. And I'd had my head. So there was that eye contact kind of thing. And we really, it was one of those environments where we really bought into the team's bigger than the eye, if that makes sense. And it was a great experience.
And I just go back to some games that I remember vividly. One was I watched on TV was your early on, your first year, and you really emerged on the scene at Louisville against I think 7th ranked Louisville team, and they could not stop you. You were going in and out and making plays in the lane and scoring in big numbers. That game, the Iowa game that year, you hit the game winner to beat the Hawkeyes. Basketball guys, and you're a basketball guy and come from a basketball family with your dad, etc. And your brother as well, that, you know, this is what do you take away? What are in your dreams or your memories of those games? What's your takeaway, or what do you think about when your mind's eye looks at your basketball career at Purdue?
Yeah, so I played at Kansas State my freshman year. I didn't get to play a lot because we had a team that went to the Final Eight that year and had guys like Rolando Blackman and Ed Neat. So I was like the 8th guy on a 7th-man rotation, or the 9th guy on a 7th. Didn't make any difference. So I didn't play a lot. Yeah. And then I redshirted, and I practiced, but you don't really know how you. So my biggest thing coming into my sophomore year was, can I play at this level? I really haven't proven. And if you go back a game, I think it was a game or two earlier, we played Boston University when Rick Pitino was out there, and I came off the bench, and I think I had 20 points or something. That was the game when I said, okay, you can play at this level. I got that self-confidence, and then that's went over to the Louisville game, and quite frankly, I was also naive enough that I just wanted to go play, and I tried to shoot a shot, and it happened to go in. And so, but the Boston University game really, I would say, was the game where I left that going, okay, I can play at this level. I got things I got to work on, but I can compete. So that kind of led from that point.
Yeah, your favorite Gene Keady moment, or a moment that maybe not favorite, but where he scolded you, or something that is again on your mind in terms of, was it the huge loss in '84 at Illinois? Sometimes losses are more memorable than wins when it came to coach. But what do you remember in terms of what is your permanent imprint on Gene Keady as a head coach, at least in his relationship with Steve Reid?
So there's two. On an individual basis, it was coincided with probably what I'm most well known for at Purdue, and that being the guy when Bobby Knight threw the chair. I was getting ready to shoot the free throws. So on an individual basis, I got a good tongue lashing at the next time out. In fact, the last thing I remember him saying was, if we lose this game, it's your responsibility. So, I really had some concern of whether I'd have a ride back to Mackey Arena after the game. Fortunately, we won.
You only hit 3 out of 6, right?
I know. And he let me have it. I mean, he let me have it for the full 90-second TV timeout. So that on an individual basis, that's the one that stands out the most. The one that you mentioned was my senior year when Troy Lewis and Everett Stevens and Todd Mitchell were all freshmen. And we played into Illinois at Mackey and beat them 54-34. We turn around 2 weeks later and go to Champaign and get beat 86-43. That was a huge turnaround. And we get back to, well, first of all, we get to the Beef House. Right. That was always, well, for every Illinois trip, you're going to go to the Beef House. We get there about midnight because it was a late game. And we start to get up and Coach Keady, sit down. We're not going inside. Well, they bring out cheeseburgers and fries and, and one of the freshmen had the audacity to ask, do you have any ketchup? And Coach Keady just went ballistic. Well, we just got our tails whooped and you're worried about ketchup. So then we get back to Mackey and we get back at 3:30 or so in the morning, 3 o'clock, and he goes, full take on the court, 30 minutes. So we went out and had a full practice for 2.5 hours and then had to be back for weights at noon. So part of it, I think, yes, he was ticked about what we just did, but I think more it was he knew what he had in Troy and Everett and Todd in terms of the talent those guys had. And he was going to send a message to them early, and we just happened to be part of that process.
I think that's an excellent point, and it paid dividends, those guys, because they're all great guys, but they needed to be pushed just a little bit. And I never thought of it that way, but I think you're exactly right that was a message sending time from that standpoint. You enjoyed also a long radio career as an analyst with Larry Clisby. And of course, we lost Larry in the last year, but that was enjoyable because you saw some really good Purdue teams during that period. You miss doing that, and obviously we all miss Cliz. That we're all getting used to. But tell us about what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, it's probably outside of moving from Lafayette, the friendships that I had developed there, and you just don't have that immediacy of being around. That was the second thing that I missed the most was not doing the radio games. It was enjoyable. For me, what was probably the most thing that stands out. A lot of great games, but not being a player and being able to be around it, got really an appreciation for the experience that you went through. Because when I was going through it, you didn't think about it. You were just worried about the next practice. You were worried about your next final you had to do. Can I pay my bills this month? Whatever you just didn't appreciate the moment that you were in. But having an opportunity to kind of be on the outside looking in, but still being inside a little bit, and it was refreshing to just see how much excitement those people bring, to fans during the winter months in Lafayette, and just the experience. So I missed that. I missed that part, but it was really kind of encouraging just to see that again from a different perspective.
This year's team, and I know you pay at least a good level of attention to what Matt Painter is putting on the court. They're loaded. I mean, this is a team that's really got a lot of expectations, maybe higher than, maybe more skill at all positions. They keep talking about got 11 guys, only 9 can play. It's going to be an interesting year. What do you observe when you're watching Matt Painter's teams play and some of the guys you like as Purdue heads into this 21-22 season?
Yeah, my again, being a fan, really, that's what I am now as a fan, watching and knowing a little bit. But what I really think Matt has done just an excellent job of is he again has kept some of those core strengths of what Coach Keady started in the program, but he's also been able to adapt to the modern game, in terms of how the game has changed, how kids have changed, all of the things outside of that core. But the core is still there, right? The core is still there in terms of defense, in terms of, teamwork, et cetera, leadership, all those kind of things. They're loaded, and I always, my biggest fear when you're that loaded is how, I don't know any of those players. So how much are they willing to give of themselves for the betterment of the team? Because that to me is going to be the only thing that gets in their way. And Matt does a great job of doing that. I mean, he's taken a lot of teams. I remember they were in Charleston here a few years ago, and the family went up and watched them. And I left that game going, these guys can't win 10 games this year. They look
Yeah.
horrible. And by the end of the year, he's got them playing as good as anybody in the Big Ten. So he's got a real skill he's got that Tom Izzo kind of skill of taking teams. And by February, March, they're pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating year, and it will be a fun one to watch starting here. Gosh, in about 2.5 weeks, they'll have their first exhibition game. So, and a very challenging schedule on the front end too. So you're going to find out a little bit. Purdue's got North Carolina early, and there'll be some games that you'll find out just where Purdue is. Hey, Steve, thanks so much for your time. We're going to let you get back to your day job and enjoy the 60th birthday. Say hello to Brenda and your family. It's a good thing at 60. I think that's the one thing is that I'm a year ahead of you, that you realize even at that age that every day is pretty darn good, and this is a good day for you. So thanks so much for your time, and we'll look forward to talking to you before long.
All right, take care. Thank you.